Hello, everybody. We are back again with another episode of Around the Hoot. I haven't actually been keeping track, so I don't know what episode this is.
But this is episode 4.
Episode 4? We'll go with that. This is episode 4.
With the most, ladies and gentlemen.
That's me. So we are here to talk about Overwatch League again. We are 3 weeks down. We're almost coming to the end of Stage 1. We've had a lot of good games last week. I think last week was probably one of the most exciting weeks so far, just in terms of teams crumbling and all of the Korean teams are now have at least, or they all have a loss on their in the loss column. So that was interesting. So our rankings definitely are going to be pretty fun this week, I think. Before we jump into it, I'll go ahead and introduce everybody. Right above me, you've got Lord Christian. I will because we did the Lord bet for the Excelsior Dynasty match.
And I clutched it.
Yeah, it was a close one, and you did it. So Lord Christian's right there above me, and then to his left we've got Travis, and then below him we've got Noah. So what?
Take out the trash with me, Wyatt. For Jesus.
He's really dismissive.
And Noah. Whatever. They know who you are. They've just had to listen to you for like an hour for us talking of League of Legends. It's fine.
All right.
But yeah, so without any further ado, let's jump right into our power rankings. As always, we do these between 4 of us, and then we have Liam and Steven. Liam, you've seen him on the podcast as well. Steven, you have not, but he's one of our other writers. And we went through and did our power rankings, and things are a lot different. So not only do we have a new number 1, but we had a team that made the biggest movement that we've ever seen in our rankings. So ever in the 3 weeks we've done them.
Mankind.
So let's look at I believe these are the definitive Overwatch League power rankings. You can go and read some other ones that are out there, but they are not as good as ours.
They're somewhat inaccurate.
Yeah, Houston number 3. Nah. So yeah.
Hey Tyler, we're talking to you, moron. Houston play jobbers. It's like remember when Braun Strowman kept fighting like jobbers, and it was like, who can stop Braun Strowman? It's like, how about somebody who's fucking real?
Yeah, exactly. Play a real team. But yeah, so our number 1 is which I think after beating Seoul Dynasty last week, it's kind of hard not to put the New York Excelsior at that number 1 spot. So they moved up 2 from number 3. Like that was a hell of a series. You know, we'll talk a little bit more about it once we kind of get into the nitty gritty of the rankings. And then so with that, Seoul Dynasty dropped down 1 spot to number 2, and then the Spitfire accordingly also moved down to number 3.
Yikes.
So
Spitfire's been looking pretty yikes for a top 3 team.
Yeah, they've been having some rough times. And then Valiant stayed true at number 4. Didn't have the strongest week, but they didn't really do enough to lose their ranking, so they're just kind of sitting there. And then we've got Boston Uprising,
Let's go, Boston.
number 5.
They've been doing pretty well.
Moving up 5 spots from number 10 to get into the top 5 here.
Well, because last week they looked so terrible, and this week they won pretty handily. Although, to be fair, they have one play style, and that's their problem, right? It's not that Boston lacks.
Well, that's what made the game last week with them so boring to watch, is because like both teams were just doing the same play style over and over again. At least my opinion.
Did you watch Dallas? Did you watch the Dallas game?
The Dallas game, yeah, the Dallas field game and Boston Uprising.
But so in general, I think the problem that I have with the Boston Uprising is that they have one playstyle. It's a very aggressive, very fast dive, and if you can mechanically execute it, it's a good strategy.
Mm-hmm.
Against defensive teams like the Spitfire and like Dallas, who like to play more passively, it's like a key into a lock. It's a perfect fit, and they were able to capitalize, and they were able to not only take down Dallas, who a lot of us expected more of, and as like one of the better teams in the league, but also took down London, who is undisputedly one of the better teams in the league.
Yep.
So hats off to Boston. I don't know if they showed a lot of improvement. Their dives look crisper, but they also were playing more passive teams, so like it's hard to say.
Yeah, but they moved up, looking pretty good. We'll see how long they stay up in this area, but for now they're at number 5.
I think I was the only dissenter on. Oh no, Christian and I are in step. I thought I was the only person who didn't rank Boston up that highly.
Yeah, Wyatt liked somebody else too. But
I put Boston at 6. I put Fusion above them.
I think Christian and I both had Uprising at 7.
Well,
Yeah.
I'm correct, and I have them at 5.
So Boston's at 5 because Noah is right as always.
Whoa. Hold on. Are these step for step all Noah's? Are the rankings in
end up being his?
Hold on.
I think they did.
Remember when I just did
they
the
actually
ranking?
did.
You guys were
They
like, we
did.
need to do this. Sorry, I'm right, Travis. Fuck off.
Well, I mean, honestly, it's because especially because his were last because he put in his the night before we did it. So like he was the tiebreaker on like all of them.
Yeah.
So everything else was very close with the way with the other 5.
I
So
blame wrestling for my late rankings.
well, yeah, you had wrestling and you were doing NA as well. So
Yeah, I had Sunday. Sunday was hard.
yeah,
Sunday
Sunday was a
was
rough day. So that's number 5. Number 6, the Outlaws dropped 1 spot down to number 6.
Yep.
Still playing pretty good, but hey, what can you do? And then Fusion still sitting pretty at number 7. They had a pretty good week. Took down New York, and then had to go five games against the Dragons. So that was pretty interesting. So they're still at number 7. Gladiators dropped 2 spots down to 8.
Mm-hmm.
The Fuel dropped 1 to 9. San Francisco dropped 1 to 10, and then the Shanghai Dragons actually moved up out of the basement, and they are now in 11th because
that was pretty contested.
Yeah,
This makes a lot of people salty.
Like
Who's salty?
11 and 12, we were split. We all like 3 people said Dragons should still be at 12. 3 people said they should be at 11. When we went to do a tiebreaker vote, only 5 people out of the 6 voted, and 3 votes went to the Dragons, and 2 went to the Mayhem. So by default, they got the 11th spot. But I mean, this is still pretty close. These teams are like Dragons are. We have them ranked higher because they
How
actually
is this
did take.
close?
I'd kind of love to see them play again.
It's so cut and dry. Yeah.
I think it's cut and dry because like looking at the Mayhem, they look fucking terrible. They
have gotten progressively worse as Shanghai has gotten.
Yeah. Like the only good thing about the Mayhem is that like every week they come out onto the stage doing something different, whether it be dancing or like holding someone up and rowing. Like
I saw this on the Overwatch subreddit, and it was like, I love how the Florida Mayhem look like they're having fun and not trying too hard. And I'm like, this is a professional team.
Yeah.
That's not a compliment.
They really do. They look like they don't give a shit.
To be fair, they at least have one win. They have one win over the Shanghai Dragons. Shanghai will get a win at some point before the end of the season. Nobody is going to Cleveland up the Overwatch League.
Let's hope. Let's hope.
So they at least have one win to their name, even though they're out there acting like morons.
If the Mayhem had played the Shanghai Dragons earlier or later than week 2, would you say?
Be winless.
There you go. There it is.
I think
okay, how is there contention? I'm mad at whoever is disagreeing here. The Mayhem, what they did this week, they won 1 map against the LA Valiant, and they got 4-0 smacked by Houston. Meanwhile, Shanghai took a map off of Seoul, and this was Seoul featuring some subs, but they took a map off of Seoul, and they damn near beat Philly, who we have ranked at like 7th or whatever.
I think I had Philly at 5.
Yeah, exactly. Philly's a pretty
I had Philly at 5 too. Like,
Philly's a strong team.
Pretty decent, yeah.
I don't think they Philly's a strong team. So like the fact that there's dissenting opinion over like.
So this is kind of the point in the season where I switch my power rankings from week to week on how the teams look and start looking at the entire body of work, because we now have a body of work to operate off of, which is
we don't have to just go week by week because we actually have some concrete evidence of how these teams play.
And granted, you do have an argument similar to how you would have in traditional sports come playoff time of like, oh, well, they had, this loss to this team early in the season, et cetera, but they're different teams now. But I think the thing that affected me the most this week in terms of like having to look at the entire body of work is the Gladiators. It's like they're a good team in my eyes. I think they're a good team, but they are 2-4 against some, teams that are at their level, and it's hard to ignore.
It's because they're like a solid team, but they're not like good,
consistent.
They are really easy to read with their subs, like what they like to do on certain maps.
Right. And
I think at the end of the day, there are better tank duos than Remix and Bishu. They have good synergy, which is good, and that's what you want in a OWL starting tank core. But like, there are better tanks in the world. They're for sure better tanks in the world than those two, and there are for sure better DPS. And Hydration, Surefour, and Asher are all incredibly solid players. They're good players, but like, they're not gonna win the carry duel versus like Fleta.
I mean, I think we had this conversation at the beginning during preseason when we talked about what teams were going to be able to do what with their rosters, and we talked about with the Gladiators and even with LA of the multinationalism being a problem in terms of roster cohesion. And we haven't really seen that manifest at all for the Valiant, but we've kind of seen in terms of like duos. Like, and to be fair, we don't know if it is the multinationalism that is causing the difficulty in terms of those players
in the Gladiators
together.
Oh, I think that's like barking up the wrong tree entirely. I don't think the Gladiators' problems is necessarily their cohesion, because they always look like they're on the same page. They look like they know what they want to do. The problem is their execute. Oh,
I'm not talking about like them as a whole. Like as a whole, the unit looks pretty solid. But like, and I guess this is something I'm going to touch on later with Philly, which I guess I'll just kind of get to now.
Go for it. Yeah, just jump into
each duo with Philadelphia is possibly in my mind the best duo at that particular position. They just work so well together. It's not that, and like, it's kind of like letting the small pieces come together to make the big piece work. Because like the DPS duo, the tank duo, and the support duo, like they're always both on the same page with one another. And I think that's kind of why we were able to see the Fusion work the magic that they did upending New York. And like, I just don't see that in other teams. Like, you can, like, I think the best example is like Dallas. Like, Dallas's duos, aside from the support duo, are pretty much all on different pages.
Nobody's like doing anything remotely close to related to each other. I do want to say for Philly, their strategy of like Shadowburn and Carpe will eventually carry if we keep them up for long enough. At some point, teams are going to figure out a way to stop it. Maybe with the Mercy meta dying out soon.
It's possible.
It's possible.
But I think
for now, yeah.
With the Gladiators, like, I think their tank duo, like, as you said, they're better tank players. Like, they're okay. They work well together, but they're okay. Whereas I think personally the disconnect for the Gladiators is coming with the DPS duo. Like, and I think that's kind of, as I think back to some of my notes on the Gladiators, there was a game, I think it was, they were playing against, Seoul. Surefour came in, and all of a sudden they look like trash. And it just kind of feels like that's the reason that they're not performing so well, is that their DPS duo just is having trouble meshing together.
What do you think, Christian? You've been quiet.
I think that's true in some cases. It does definitely come off that way. It certainly is for me the execution. I just don't think they have the muscle to really power through things. I don't think it's a lack of coordination, because they seem very like a decisive team at least. It's just a matter of like actually breaking through the front line for me.
Maybe they're just not good enough.
Yeah, I think they need a little more like practice. Yeah, I guess it is a matter of not being good enough, not being strong enough.
Is the problem star power or practice? Because I think there's an argument to be made for both.
I don't think it's the star power. I think it's like it's a DPS problem for me.
Okay.
Well, I was going to say, do you really feel like it's not a lack of star power in the DPS department? Because, I mean, like, Asher is amazing. And then it's like, Hydration is really good. And, like, Surefour is pretty decent. But it's kind of like, I wish there was somebody else there to complement Asher better.
Here's the thing, though. Like, do you really... Like, I think in a perfect world, the duo of Hydration and Asher is pretty solid.
Mhm.
But like that supporting role you see oftentimes comes from another role, not necessarily DPS, right?
Sure.
Like somebody will be the primary carry of the team, and somebody on the team will be the secondary carry. Somebody's going to try and create space for the primary carry to do their thing and try and carry a fight. And to me, this all kind of wraps around to like, I'm just going to keep complaining about the tanks because like Asher's way of like making big plays as Tracer is to go for these incredibly long flanks. And after a while, I was thinking about this the other day. I was like, wait, he just has to go for long flanks because his tanks don't know how to create space in the front line. Like they don't know how to like set up a situation in which he can go in and do massive damage. He has to figure that out himself.
Right.
So you think it's like a tank
That's a
problem?
problem. Yes, that's a problem. I think the Gladiators. Name one front line they beat.
The Shanghai.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Right.
I mean, I think
All right,
they'll
we'll
be
see
able
if
to-
they can get through Mayhem today.
Your Honor, I rest my case.
I think they'll be fine with getting through Mayhem. Mayhem's tanks.
Mayhem was like the second worst front line.
Okay,
in
see,
the
like,
league.
here's the thing: is like Mayhem, like, as much as we want to complain about the Gladiators tank line right now, like, Mayhem's tanks last week looked the worst out of a team that looked the worst.
I think Swoosh and Maniton are very good players. The problem is they have one support and a flex player who hates playing support.
Sure. But, well, I mean,
Yeah.
they looked like they were on completely different pages. Like, Maniton was sitting, like, in the back lines with D.Va, like, trying to protect the supports. Meanwhile, Swoosh was, like, you couldn't, like, was not even in sight of the payload, like, dying on the balcony at Numbani when his team hadn't even come around the bus yet.
Like, that's just like, they just have to work. Why does this team have synergy issues? Isn't the whole point of just picking up misfits?
Of having 6 people is so that you could be like, we
Yeah.
never have to switch rosters. Like they
have
only know how to
everybody-
play against each other.
Yeah, and like they're having synergy issues. Like, bruh, like
I mean, it's not unheard of for, like, teams to go through synergy issues, like, especially when you're changing metas and things like that, and you're forced onto new heroes and new strategies and things like that. Like,
I think, to me, I think it's a combination of like people playing for the Mayhem. I personally think Swoosh needs to be a little less aggressive. I agree there, but I also think he doesn't get a lot of help. I don't think
I would agree with you.
I don't think anybody
Yeah.
on Florida gets a lot of help realistically.
Well, yeah, because they all are just like, I mean, like I think no, you said it like during one of your blurbs for the Dragons, like they just look like random people from top 500 like thrown together.
Yeah,
like, like Mayhem or even like more so that case.
They're people
they're
from
6
top
dudes-
500 EU where like
Yeah, like,
after
they're,
all
like,
the
just-
pros left for NA.
Yeah, it's just like 6 dudes. They were just like, you go play together.
They open each other's career profiles like, all right, who has mercy hours? You.
Wait.
You're the bitch. And it's like,
Yeah.
Didn't they play together as Sweden for the World Cup, or am I swoosh into Vic though?
some of them did, maybe
No.
hypothetically.
I don't
No.
think so. I can check.
No, no,
No, they
Coco. It was Coco and Chips. Coco and Chips. It was Misfits plus Coco and Chips. That was
Okay.
Sweden.
Because I know like swoosh to Vic are from Sweden, so that's why I was kind of like making that assumption. So
Yeah.
so for me it was kind of like I don't know why they're having so many coordination problems when like
They
the
hypothetically-
core stars are from Sweden, like they're from the same place. You know, they're able to speak the same language and everything. They,
Let me look
know
up.
to figure the
All
strategy.
you are correct, Christian. All of these players, aside
From
from
Sweden.
Logix, played for Sweden.
Yeah,
So you're
okay,
telling me
so
5
Oliver-
of these 6
Yes.
people played
Played in
together
the
during the
Overwatch
World
World Cup,
What
yes.
the fuck, dude?
Manitin, Swoosh,
Wait, no.
Sabazai, and Tavik all played on Team Sweden.
Wait, but Team Sweden also had Coco and Chips, so who was on the bench?
They didn't take on Coco and Chips, but what do you mean for Florida? What do you mean?
No, for Team Sweden.
It could be that they played. I don't know. Liquipedia only offers me those players.
Here's their roster. I'm a monkey. They didn't have Coco. It was Tavik, Snillo, Manitin, Swoosh, Chips, and Zebasai.
Yeah,
If you don't recognize
Chips.
Snillo, he plays for Philly, but he's a sub.
he is. So I was
They're
actually
the-
looking at this earlier today, and one of my first experiences with Overwatch was the 2016 Overwatch World Cup. And I'm sitting
God.
I love Team France. Like, I don't know why. They were just a pleasure to watch.
Because Team France would swag on people, and then they played Korea, and then they're like, "Oh, okay, could win, GG." And
Right,
then it's
and
like
so,
mentally
like,
boomed.
I just I want to know why some of these players aren't being picked up in Overwatch League. Like, I didn't relay it to you guys because I was off on a ski trip. I'm so excited about AKM joining the Fuel. Like, I'm literally holding off to buy an AKM jersey. Like, I was like, I'm gonna get a player jersey, and then AKM joins, and I'm like, all right, I'm gonna wait.
I'm here now. I'm up. I'm good. And to kind of answer your question of why more Team France, because a lot of them wanted to play together, but I wouldn't be because they were Rogue, and Rogue was like, Rogue was arguably better than a majority of the teams that had made it to Overwatch League.
Right.
Like, if Florida Mayhem, look at them and just remember that Rogue died for this.
Yeah.
Yikes.
But I mean, like, there's also, I was also wondering if it was like age issues and stuff like that, because there's like a couple of the non-Koreans on like Cloud9, like I think Gods, are not in. There's like was Smex on Cloud9?
Adam didn't make it in. Fact Fiction didn't make it in.
Yeah. Well, I was wondering about Fact Fiction too, because he plays for FaZe Clan still.
Yeah.
I think he played for the U.S. in the World Cup as well.
He did indeed.
Adam is a coach now, isn't he?
Maybe. He's somewhere.
I thought, but I'm not entirely sure. Mangachu. There were
That's
a
all I
couple
have to
players
say.
from like the 2016 Overwatch World Cup on Team Spain that I think I was looking for. Yeah, Bromas. I know Harry Hook plays for Dallas. Like,
Yeah.
And I actually had no idea that Neptuno played for. Like, I just had like a brain fart and was like, "Where's Neptuno?" And then I was like, "Oh wait, he plays for Philly." Like,
Yeah, exactly. He's like,
I watched him last week.
he's what holds that support roster together. Okay, can we talk about how, real quick, this is like a tangent to nothing, but can we talk about how Philly looks like garbage whenever they sub in their Koreans?
Yeah.
That aren't Carpe?
It's weird.
Yeah, it is.
They just look like hot shit. It's like, dude, what? Why?
So,
Like,
do you think they don't get enough practice time? Like, do you think they? They have an academy team, so like it feels like they're being a little bit more advanced about this. But you have to wonder, like, if they look that bad when the Koreans come in, do you wonder if like the B team players are getting practice time?
Well, like I think that's like I think for a lot of teams, like it looks like when a lot of teams are making these big subs, when they pull out some of their like their core rosters and put in these other guys, like it looks like they've never played together before.
Yeah.
Where it's like you think that they would try and get more practice in with these
it's
like
because there's no rhyme or reason to a lot of the team's substitutions.
yeah,
Or like Gladiators have like, if we're playing an escort map, we're running this roster. If we're playing Koth, we're running this, right?
For a lot of these teams, it just kind of feels like, oh, I'm tired. Let me just sit on the bench for a bit, then I'll come back.
Which is
and
fine.
Yeah.
But like, I don't even think it's like these players don't know how to play each other, because they probably do. I think it's like there isn't that, because after a while playing together, like you get that non-verbal communication. Like you see your boy go do, you see somebody going to flank like top right, and you're like, okay, I need to be here, because if not, he's just gonna die, right?
yeah.
But like when you're playing with new players, you're responding to information basically at the same time that the other team is responding to that same information, right? So then it's literally just a race. You don't have that advantage of like, I already know what you're gonna do, so we're just gonna act faster.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's bizarre. And for Philly, it's like when they want to throw, they put in Dayfly. Like he's a good Ana back from the Apex days. But it's just like Boombox was doing great. Like maybe it was
dog
because
Yeah, that's me.
Okay. Shout outs to dog.
Shout outs to dog. Maybe like they were like, okay, we're gonna have this half of the roster, the Boombox Poco Core, you guys are going to you guys are going to practice and study film on NYXL, and then the Dayfly and Hotba core, you guys are going to study fucking Shanghai. And maybe that's why they did the split, because it makes sense, get a new group of players to come in for what could be a trap game, but
it does, but it doesn't feel like it breeds long-lasting teams or anything,
No, but I don't know. Maybe it's week 3 of stage 1, so maybe. Well, I think one of the biggest telling points will be when teams start to change up their substitution strategies going into stage 2. This is everybody's first time doing this. A lot of North American teams are playing with
the league for stage 2. I really do.
Yeah, I hope that teams do a lot of movement with free agency, with that being open here soon. I hope
there are some good free agents in the market, but there's not a lot,
Sure, but I mean, I would also like to see more teams do like Philadelphia did and be we now have an academy team.
Well, I'm pretty sure
it's in the Contenders League.
I'm pretty sure more of them are going to be coming. It's just Philly was the first to announce.
Sure.
And then they're gonna take 10 months, and then they're not gonna have the visas together in time, so they're gonna miss this sort of contenders. It's gonna be yikes.
No, it's the Philly.
Shout outs to Philly. Boy, what a silly team.
Yeah, I would also like to say, as I'm sure a lot of the viewers know, the Mercy nerf and I guess slight Junkrat nerf went live yesterday on main client, and so that's going to be live for Overwatch League if I'm not mistaken. And I kind of
Wait, is that confirmed, or is that just you think?
That's my speculation because it is on live client. So
because they play
Blizzard
on
is somehow holding them off.
Well, yeah, because
amazing.
in NALCS,
that's true. They can
on Wednesday. The pros aren't playing that same patch on Friday.
Okay, well, see, that's my experience in Dota. If a patch fucking goes live on the Dota client,
you're coming from a Valve esport. They don't give a shit. We care here. This is a welcoming environment.
That's my concern. Is if this is live on Overwatch League games, I'll be a little disappointed because it's kind of we just got a body of work to help assess these teams moving forward, and who's better than who as we move throughout the season.
No, it's a month. It'll be live for stage 2, right, or stage 3?
That's what I'm hoping.
That it will be, because that's how they do it for Heroes of the Storm. That's how they do it for Call of Duty. And those are all Blizzard Activision games.
Sure.
They don't.
I mean, it would be it'd be stage 2 at the latest.
Stage 2, I think.
They're not going to wait all the way till stage 3.
But I didn't know if they had said something in regards to when this patch is live. It's not it's going to be what we see in Overwatch League. And I guess we'll find out because the games are about to start up soon.
Yeah, I mean, we'll know because we'll know pretty immediately. So.
Right.
Well, I mean, on the subject of the Mercy Pass, I think this is kind of I don't think Mercy will be dead because you still have a 30-second res, even though she's slowed, and then they nerf the hell out of Boundary.
She's a very much a fringe pick.
Right? Yeah,
from
but
my experience on the ladder, if there's no Pharah in ranked, at least if there's no Pharah, there are better options than Mercy.
Yeah, especially with Anna being 2-shot DPS and everything, Lucio movement speed. Moira's going to see a lot of play now too.
Why would you ever pick a DPS character when you can pick 4 tanks and just meatball your way to victory?
Yeah, exactly. That's probably
quad tank is coming. Quad and triple tank is coming back, and it's the best meta because it's a bunch of fat meatballs rolling around. It's so it's all right. Both team supports have died, so it's going to be a 5-minute fight on point between these 3 tanks. And then somebody fucks up, and then that's the game.
But I also think the Mercy patch helps separate the weaker Mercy players from the stronger ones, the one that actually know how to coordinate with people, instead of just people that can just hide in a corner then come out and res. Now
it's not even that, just
actually have to coordinate with their tank.
Yeah, you have to have a good understanding of what you're doing in game state.
Yeah, map awareness too, where the enemy team will post up and everything, and even who to res is going to be a big
For all
deal.
of you people who are complaining that Mercy is now dead, no, it's your brain dead. Your brain dead Mercy is dead. Now it's a Mercy that requires some amount of thought, but you still don't have to look at anything. You don't have to do nothing. If you get scared, you can look at somebody and press shift, and you'll fucking zoom away at 10,000 miles an hour.
I could say the same thing for Moira.
Moira can't fly.
I know, but she can go invincible and invisible.
Her fate is so nutty. Her fate is so
The
nutty.
fate
Actually,
is so nutty. That's a
I
good
was-
way of describing it.
I was playing a triple tank game earlier, like right before right before we started podcasting, and I got on our first push onto Hanamura A, I got my ultimate halfway through the fight on point. I used it, and then we went and took high ground on B. And by the time we had the team fight was halfway done on B, I had another ult. In the triple tank meta, she charges her shit so fast. It's stupid.
Because it goes to several people at once, and it heals all of them. Then you just throw
it's the ball and the spray.
everything.
The ball and the spray. It burst heals for 400 AoE.
But that's what
It's stupid. It's so stupid.
That's why I love Moira. She's fucking
that's why
awesome.
you see her in Lunar Colony all the time too, because of that. Like you go through those chokes and everything, everybody just kind of groups up.
Yeah, you
it's so
go.
easy to get your charge and fill back up too with your damage.
Moira's probably too powerful right now because she can't really. It's really hard to punish her.
Yeah, I think.
And then she has unlimited heals, and yeah, she's fun as hell to play. I feel the same way about her that I did Lucio back in season 2, season 3. It's this is clearly too strong, but I'm having too much fun to say anything.
Right, but Lucio was fine because he had his high skill ceiling. He actually,
What do you mean?
I felt like.
Yeah, the
If you
skill
saw
ceiling
Agate Lucio jump for across the ceiling and everything too, you know.
Well, the skill ceiling was whether they knew to bind their jump to scroll wheel down.
Yeah,
that's it. You know, it was the skill ceiling. Do I know the correct key bindings?
So we kind of got off from our power rankings, I guess, a little bit, but overall, it kind of looks like we had pretty consistent through the top 4 or 5, and then
it's really in the middle.
Six through 8 is kind of a mess of where everybody thinks different players are or different teams are, and then pretty much the bottom is some combination of Fuel Shock Mayhem Dragons. Some combination.
I still think it's funny how we keep ranking Philly lower than Houston, even though Philly beat Houston. I did it too, but I'm just throwing it out there. Actually, did I do it?
I did not. I have Fusion, Outlaws, and then Uprising.
Yeah,
so realistically, they're the best team, Travis.
Of course.
You know that they're on such a good tear. 16-0. That's all you need to know.
Yeah.
Right.
That's it.
Remember when it's they're Goldberg, only they're Greenberg.
So
Thank you. I'm here all week.
So
for the weird ass analogies.
So
yeah,
Christian, you're a New York guy. Why did you rank Dynasty number 1?
I was just about to bring that up actually, because that goes back to the whole substitution thing. I do not think Seoul was playing at their best. They had who they sub in again? I think it was Guido as their. No, it was Miro. No.
Miro's their starter usually.
Yeah.
Miro.
But they seem to have Zumba, right?
Yeah, no, Zumba's their usual starter. Hello.
Yeah.
Anyway, they were not playing the full Seoul roster in my opinion, and I don't think they got off easy. They definitely earned that win, but it was Seoul wasn't playing themselves either.
Well, let's give credit where credit's due. New York did shut down Pine for the most part.
Yeah, they did. Absolutely.
And regardless of who's around him, I think if you can shut down Pine when Ryu and Toby are around, that right there is impressive. The best DPS, the best DPS with the best support core, and you shut him down. And not only that, New York support core popped the hell off. Ryu got outclassed, and it's been a while since I've been able to say that. Jonak is a monster. My boy JJ. Arc is probably the best Mercy.
For me, I was the only other person to rank Excelsior at number 2 and Dynasty at number 1. And for me, it just felt with the loss to Philly beforehand kind of tainted it. If Excelsior had kept a perfect week, no matter how close the win was over Philly, I would have given them the number 1 spot uncontested. But to me, it felt a lot and this week will clear it up for me a lot more, is I can't tell whether or not New York played down to Philly's level like which team is the team that's playing to the level of their opponent.
Oh, for sure. I think it's easy.
Yeah.
At least in my mind, it's easy to say that New York didn't pay too much attention to Philly, and that was a trap game for them. And they got caught because Philly's a team that's good enough to exploit situations like that and take wins off of teams that are Philly can box above their weight. Right.
They underestimated Philly because they kind of came in like, oh, we're shooing for this match, and they just let them get steamrolled.
It's like they were looking at Seoul, and then it's like, oh, we also play Philly, but like whatever.
Yeah,
and
they were practicing for Seoul, and then they showed that this match.
Right, exactly. And then, but then they look so much more convincing in their win versus Seoul. To me, that says a lot. Like when this team is fully prepared for a squad, they can take down anybody.
I mean, yeah, it seemed like Jojonek was on top of Pine the whole time. He was making sure to always get him. He was always the primary target. And when they did that, Seoul was kind of at a loss of what to do.
Fleta.
Did I say Pine?
Yeah, you said
Oh my god.
Pine only comes out on Ilios.
And then he dabs and then he walks off the stage.
Yeah, I think Pine's a little too overhyped, and they're like, oh my god, Pine's like Hannibal Lecter. He's going to tear through everybody. Announcers always hyping the hell up.
Yeah.
And it's like he plays a
I just think
he's plays more than one.
But guys, Pine is undefeated in all of his
because he plays one map.
But he's so good on that one map.
They're both undefeated. Wow!
Oh my god! Then Houston would be number 1, obviously.
Well, they're already number 1, but they're like number 3, so whatever.
Which is basically number 1, considering.
Yeah, if there were no Koreans, they'd be number 1.
Oh god.
So now the real question is, because we've been ripping on Tyler so much this show, he said in his note that Linkser should be considered for stage 1 MVP.
No!
Thoughts?
No! Do we have to? Are we seriously talking about this? Linkser's been shitting on. Let's say Linkser versus Fleta. Let's say Linkser versus Libero and Sabiolbi. Yeah?
This is not going to work out.
I think the one good thing that we can say that Tyler's power ranking has given us, we have more ammo in which to trigger the fuck out of Noah now. So, just add it to the bank of things you can say that'll just make him want to flip his desk over. I love it.
This desk is like 200 pounds more than me, I wish. But like...
Your rage will do it.
No, my rage.
The rage of 1,000 fire.
Like, there are times where Linkser isn't the best player on his team, and Jake has to play. And it's like, guys, Linkser is the MVP. If you ignore the fact that on Horizon he has no idea what the fuck he's doing, and he just gets carried by Jake Rat.
I need Houston to have that Beatles moment, if you all know what I'm talking about, where somebody asks a Houston member, so, is Linkser the best DPS in the world? What? Linkser's not even the best DPS on the Outlaws.
Okay, he's clearly the best DPS on that team. Well, actually, okay, shout out to Mendo, who will never see playing time ever, but, like, he's still there. He's still in, like, Outlaw jail. He's streaming Sea of Thieves. That's what he's doing nowadays during Scrim Block. Because, like, you can always tell when the OWL players are scrimming, because, like, the subs will start streaming, and then they'll stop.
Oh, that's bad.
And Mendo just always has a stream on. It's like, dude, do you even get in the game? That's so fucking upset. That's so bad.
Should we get into the matches for this week?
Yeah,
let's do that.
Yeah!
Right. So, last week I think we were all wrong on a lot the expected ones that you figured we'd be wrong on because
Christian
everybody kind of
Christian is. I'm gonna start copying Christian's notes.
To be fair, Liam had the same record as Christian this week, so
I'm more willing to give it to the underdog.
But that was Liam's
9-3.
That was Liam's blind devotion to Boston. I already know how that happened.
I was gonna say that's accurate. So this week, starting off, we have. It's probably kicking off real soon, is the Valiant versus the Fusion. And I think Christian and I were the only ones to pick Philly over LA.
Get out of here, you contrarians! Go home.
Christian's trying to throw so he can catch up, and then he's just gonna...
I'm throwing on purpose so I can make a late game sweep.
He wants to make it look competitive.
He wants to drop into plat so he can smurf on some noobs again.
I'm interested in this game simply because I had we try and post our power rankings on Reddit on both r/competitive Overwatch and r/Overwatch League. And so I've been having some conversations with some people there, and I've seen that some people were like, well, why do you have the Valiant ranked over the Outlaws when they've played a similar slate of teams? And really the only answer that I could come up with is because, one, they look more convincing.
Which Korean team did Houston play?
Houston lost. They played the Excelsior. I think they lost 3-1.
Yeah, that's why. Okay, yeah, they got demolished. That's why.
And then on the flip side of that, LA lost. I think it was like 3-0. So
To
really,
Seoul.
no, to Excelsior, I believe.
Have neither of them played Seoul yet?
I thought
They have not played Seoul. They have played Excelsior and Spitfire. They played Spitfire to a 3-2 loss, and then
Spitfire that they
to a
almost beat.
3-0.
No, doesn't Houston? Yeah, Houston has like the double week, right?
Houston
Oh, no,
should
they have
Seoul this week, but I don't.
They have Seoul and San Francisco, so
Yeah.
That's heavy hitters for sure.
Oh, but yeah, the last week they have Boston and London, so
That'll be interesting.
I mean, for me, this is the proving ground for the Valiant of, like, if they can beat Philadelphia, to me, like, they've secured their position as the best Western team. If not already. I think this will be a good game. And I'd like to see, because it seems like a lot of the times that we see a lot of Western teams have been playing up against Korean opponents. And I can't tell whether or not that's a regional playstyle matchup where both teams are slightly unfamiliar with the other's playstyle and one is just taking advantage. But I would like to see how they play West v West. And either team could take this, but just based on, how I've talked about Philadelphia performing, in duos, that's why I think Philadelphia wins.
I think Valiant's kind of coming into this thinking they'll win this, and they're going to be in for a bad surprise.
Christian's
I think they're underestimating Fusion.
All right.
That's kind of my feeling.
I think it's hard to underestimate any team with Carpe and Shadowburn, but I do see your point though. That like Philly looks pretty bad at points. So here's
I think
what
after Philly just beat Excelsior, so I think that I think it would be, if the Valiant were to like look past Philly after that, I think that would be like extremely short-sighted for one of the better teams in the league.
And here's what I'm thinking for the Valiant. I think they have a talented enough roster. Like, Agilities may not be as good as Shadowburn, but he's pretty damn close.
Yeah.
They have Silk Thread to sub in, who can also play pretty well. And I think Soon is just as good as Carpe. Like, flame me if you want, but Soon is phenomenal. He's been on fire recently.
Mm-hmm.
And then I look at the tanks, the front line, right? The tank core for Los Angeles, I like a lot more than I do the tank core of Philly, because the tank core of Philly is Poco, and Poco gets kills with self-destruct. You don't do that week in, week out. It's not possible. Teams will learn. They'll be like, okay, this week or today we're gonna drill Diva bombs and how the fuck to respond. So after a while, that's not a viable strat anymore. And Fraggy likes to kill himself, like, a lot.
Yeah.
And I think a team that's somewhat coordinated like Valiant will be able to get receive the incoming kill and just be able to clean up from there. It'll be a close series, I think, but in the end, I think the Valiant have more consistency. They've showed more consistency, and they don't need high highs from their DPS. They can grind out wins through their tank and support core.
Right.
I agree.
Cool.
We're pretty much across the board on the Gladiators over the Mayhem. Which we raked the Mayhem over the coals today. I don't think that was not obvious to anybody listening.
Hopefully Hydration plays Doomfist. I need to learn more tricks.
We all picked Houston over San Francisco.
Yep.
So Houston's kind of in that spot for me where they're very similar to how Boston looked. Like, they looked, or granted, Houston looked really bad at the start. Boston looked really good at the start, like way better than we expected. Houston looked a lot worse than we expected. I'm really interested to see how this match plays out, even though I think, with the way that Houston has been playing and the level that San Francisco consistently plays at, I think this will be a stomp. But I would really be interested to see if San Francisco can eke one out against them like they did Boston.
Maybe. Depends on the map pool. So
I actually changed my answer for this next one because I thought AKM was going to be available to Dallas right away. Turns out he's not available until the 21st of February, I think, something like that.
Till stage two.
So Philly over Dallas was unanimous. New York over Shanghai, as though that was even a question.
Yep.
The question will just be if Seoul can get a map again. I think when they play against these really good teams, like that's basically their goal. Like just get a map.
Get a map. I mean, that's a huge
for Shanghai. Yeah.
Get a map. Depends on the map. Depends on the map. Like they look helplessly lost on Lunar Colony. They look helplessly lost on like basically all the Koth maps. But anything else, maybe. If it's Numbani, maybe. It's Numbani.
So on the next one, Christian was the only one to pick London. Everybody else picked Seoul. And I have to say, I was really tempted to pick London.
I almost feel like I should, because this is how Christian has edged us in the rankings, because he's always the one
underdog
person to pick against the field, and then he fucking gets it.
Well, I think
change your answer,
because
dude.
like London is probably specifically prepared for this match this week. They're coming into this knowing all of all of the dynasty's like strategies and games and like what they like to play, where they like to go, and I'm sure Seoul did that too. But I think London's coming into this like really with a really tight strategy, and I think that's what's going to happen.
On the flip side, I think Ryu's mad. I think Ryu's mad that he got fucking smacked by Jonak, and now he's against Bedosin, and he's like, I'm not losing twice. I'm not losing to the other Korean team. Hell no, right? I think. Oh, bye.
What happened?
Okay, I'm the host now. Oh, okay, feels bad. I think Fleta is gonna wake up and he's gonna be mad, and Fleta versus Profit's gonna be sick. I think.
It's going to be a great match no matter what.
Seoul can do any play style. London plays really passively for whatever reason.
Yeah.
And like they play a very methodical style. And Seoul has enough in that they have a lot of versatility in how they can approach games. I think they're going to be able to outstrat London. And let's remember, one of these teams beat the weakest version of Lunatic High we've ever seen in competitive play in Apex Season 4. The other one lost to Lunatic High in Apex Season 3 finals. Right?
Mm-hmm.
So, at its core, these are two teams that are good enough to compete against Lunatic High, but this is Seoul Dynasty, which is a completely different beast.
I mean, for me, like, I was tempted to pick London, but the reason that I gave Seoul the edge was definitely the support duo. And, I mean, I guess, in a way, a DPS matchup, it's just kind of like, to me, Fleta is better than Birdring, and that's the way it is.
Oh, that's an interesting one, actually. I don't know if I could say that definitively.
Spicy.
I mean, I feel that
it's
way.
Close. It is close.
I'll say it's close, but I think that Fleta's better. And I think he's proven himself better against better teams.
Yeah, okay, I can see. I will
They're
say
both
this:
capable of
Fleta has the
carrying their team.
Fleta has the better help by far.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, and again, that support duo is why I give the edge to Seoul in this matchup. I don't think Toby and Ryu lose twice in a row to a Korean team. I don't think it happens. So
but
next,
Christian's the god, so
we have San Francisco.
The Lord.
This was where I decided to be the contrarian, and I picked Florida because
what do you think, Florida? Why?
Yeah.
What have they shown?
There's really no rationale behind this other than they were just so bad last week that I'm really hoping that somehow this is the last game, you guys. This is the last game where they could ever possibly be within the realms of notching a win. This is it's either this, it's San Francisco before stage 2 or Shanghai. Probably before stage 2. That's all Florida has.
They already took the Shanghai.
They already took down the Dragons.
They took down the Dragons early when they were looking to first.
Right.
So
Like,
naturally, you think they're going to beat San Francisco, who
San
have like
Francisco's-
actual upside? Hello.
San Francisco's had some sloppy play pretty consistently across the board. It's definitely
Shout out to my boy Dak, Mr. Gray Screen himself.
it's definitely possible for Florida to edge them on a couple of maps. I'm being optimistic here with Florida
Dante's
getting
gonna.
a win.
Here's what's gonna happen. Dante's gonna go fucking wild. Baby Bay doesn't even have like. Baby Bay will be like do whatever. Dante's gonna pop off because Dante's been like honestly incredible over the last couple of weeks. It's kind of been ridiculous. Like I feel like after preseason, everybody's like, "Oh, Baby Bay's so insane." It's like Dante's fragging out like every game.
Baby Bay is the MVP. I don't know what you're talking about.
Okay, yeah, fair enough. I think Dante is like looking at this matchup and he's like, wait, I just get to play flankers against like the weakest support core in the league. Oh yeah, and he's just rubbing his hands, you know.
So next, Seoul versus Houston. Everybody picked Seoul, but it's interesting that Seoul claims to be afraid of Houston. They claim that Houston is like the best team in the league or whatever. And it's really hard to tell if they are memeing or not, and they keep saying that they're not.
Koreans don't meme; they just like lie. they lie. They lie to be polite. Like
They just
don't want to hurt anybody's feelings.
yeah, it is.
They're
not,
so
it's
nice.
Like I guarantee, like it's like, oh, we respect Jake a lot. He's a really good player. And then backstage, it's like this fucking Junkrat one trick, and they're like going nuts.
I don't know. I think Seoul should beat them, especially if anything holds true that they are in fact scared of this Houston team.
Seoul has such a tough week though. Like
Then
holy
they're-
shit.
I think that if they're actually scared of this team, though, then it's more likely that they will prepare.
Yeah,
But you
exactly.
gotta
Like, I
prepare
think,
for London.
like I think if, but I feel like if you can prepare to beat London, that same preparation will beat Houston.
I'll say
Okay.
this.
No,
I don't-
London doesn't have any Junkrat one tricks.
I was gonna say, with London, they will prepare for London. With Houston, they will prepare for Jake. They
Linkser too. Linkser
Yeah.
like has pop. No,
Linkser's
Linkser
the
has
MVP,
popped off.
so of
Fleta
course
can
they.
handle Linkser. Fleta can handle Linkser.
But
Yeah,
here's,
but
here's
Linkser's the
thing,
MVP though, so they really have to like
Is
make
that-
sure that they're.
is that like Jake is the only thing that's going to give them trouble because he's like he is one trick, but it's kind of like if you just dismiss that as he's only got one thing. Okay, well if you don't prepare for that one thing that he's really good at, he's going to club you over the head with it. Like
Jake can realistically play more than one hero. Just like to me, I look at the support core of Houston. It's Raucous Bonnie, and I'm like, on what planet are you challenging Toby and Ryu? Like, come on, man, come on. If Seoul plays like we know they can, they got this in the back.
right.
Yeah.
So we have Gladiators versus Boston next. I think everybody picked Boston, but this is another one that I think they could get interesting. As we stated earlier, like Gladiators, we know they're a good team that are having some problems.
Gladiators play a really sloppy dive, and Boston plays a really clean dive.
Sure.
So
Yeah.
like what has Boston shown that Boston has shown that like they will just keep running at you over again and again and again. I don't know if the Gladiators have the cohesion right now or like the strats to like counteract like a really clean dive.
I think this
Yeah.
could be. This feels like it could be close, but it could also look a lot like Houston versus
It could-
the Gladiators.
Yeah, it's a toss up. Gladiators are weird.
Shanghai versus London. Everybody picked London. No surprise there. If Shanghai beats London, I don't know what we'll do.
If Shanghai beats
We'll
London,
be-
that obviously
we'll be
means that
impressed.
Shanghai would be the third team then, right?
No,
Because
but they
if
wouldn't
you
be able to beat the Outlaws.
If you beat,
Outlaws, then Shanghai, then Boston.
there we go. That works.
The Erzberger way. Next we have the Excelsior versus Dallas. Honestly,
Dallas.
like this is the thing. It's like we all rank Dallas so low, but in the back of our minds, we're all just kind of waiting for them to
in the
return.
back
to
of
form.
your mind. In the
I'm
back
not
of
waiting
your
for
mind.
that at
No,
all.
I don't-
okay,
They-
fine.
they-
I no,
proven
okay,
they
like
can.
no, I'll throw Travis a bone. I think that Dallas, like, I know that Dallas will eventually Rise at least. I don't know if they're ever going to
Not
be as
this
good as we thought they were going to, but not Stage 1. If they do, it'll be Stage 2.
But like the Dallas we know relies on Taimu, and Taimu said on stream, "I can't do it right now. Like I just can't play." That's why Siegel's
weird.
playing every game. He's just not. He's off right now, and that's the kind of player Taimu is. Sometimes he's on, and he's top 5 in the world. Like, no hesitation about it. And he does some of the sickest shit you've ever seen. You're just like, what the hell? He went to Korea and fucking smashed them. And then sometimes he's this Taimu, where he does nothing and he doesn't play well.
Yeah.
At this point, I'm glad Dallas
does barely more than nothing.
Right.
Sometimes.
I'm glad they have a sub for Taimu, so he doesn't have to go get his ass pounded. But like, it can affect carry against Sabiolbi.
No.
Plus, okay then, yeah.
I mean, for me, I'm just like, it may not be this game, but like we saw Dallas play Seoul 2-1. We saw them do it. We know that the Stage 1 Dallas is capable.
But that's when Taimu was alive. Taimu's dead. Taimu's dead now.
That's fine.
But like, grave.
We said earlier,
Taimu's dead and Harry Hook is sick.
We said earlier in the season that Taimu was pretty much always going to be a coin flip on whether which Taimu was going to show up. The one who does nothing or the one who pops off. I understand, but you have to understand that all of Dallas is hurting right now, and they're going through a lot of shit, and that's going to affect the mentality of, especially of players like that. Like,
so you think they're going to bring in Taimu this week or no?
I'm not saying they're going to bring in Taimu this week, but I'm saying that like I'm saying that eventually Dallas is going to just suddenly surprise everybody. It's probably not going to be this week, but I think what's going to end up happening is that, you know, we're gonna pick a game where it's like, oh, it's Dallas versus this team. All right, this other team has this in the bag, and then all of a sudden Dallas just shows up.
You like it's Libero versus Siegel. Like. It's Sabiolbi versus, and the only matchup that's close on paper, 1-1, is Effects versus Sabiolbi. But like, JJ is gonna smash the shit out of Custard. It's gonna be rough. Oh god. I even think the tank line for New York is like been masterclass recently, and like I don't see that coordination between Coco and Mickey, especially since Mickey doesn't get to play. Especially since like Mickey. Like I think Roadhog is almost supplanted Diva in terms of like usefulness, and
after the Jojonic carries last week, you know.
Yeah, it's just like this is gonna be a rough one.
All right, so then the last match is the Valiant versus Boston, and then the only people who picked Boston are the guys that are not here, which is Liam and Steven.
I can play devil's advocate.
Why do you think Boston could beat LA?
Boston could beat LA because I think, for one, LA is strongest when they're playing a hyper-aggressive dive composition, and Boston might be better at that play style than the Valiant is. Valiant has more flexibility for sure, but Boston is so good at this one thing that the Valiant want to try to do that Boston might be able to take a couple of map wins. Not only that, but Boston has shown that they are on the same page. They are incredibly well coordinated, whereas sometimes we see weird things from the Valiant. We don't even know which one of the supports is going to be playing Mercy and which one's going to be playing Zenyatta. We're not sure which one we like on both.
Yeah, maybe we like to switch them at random too.
Right, exactly. Whereas everybody on Boston knows exactly what they're doing. They have a clear-cut goal in mind. They're well disciplined. So in this way, in a close series, Boston can win.
Yeah, that's fair. But I don't think. Valley does that, and they still somehow manage to find a way to come on top, despite like just playing weird for whatever reason.
Intentionally throwing as hard as they can.
Yeah. So I think only if they do that, Boston will have a chance because they, like we always said, you know, like we've been saying, they have a very clean dive. Mm-hmm. So they could take it on that, but I think Valley kind of has to purposely throw for that.
That's right.
I think
a lot of inting going on.
Job done.
A lot of inting going on nowadays.
Vala.
Hey, OWL starts in 2 minutes.
Well,
I think that's going to do it for us this week.
2 minutes left here, so.
Welcome. Thank you for watching the OWL pre-show.
Exactly. We are the new OWL pre-show. So yeah, that was around the Hoot once again. If you guys want to. You want to go ahead and go through? Well, I mean, all of our game tags are right below our names. We're a little bit short on time. So that'll do it for us. We'll be back next week for another episode, and enjoy all the Overwatch League, and we'll catch you guys later.
Bye-bye.